You want the kind of story that makes people lean in. One of those wild, suburban tales that feels too real not to be true, right? Well, let me give it to you straight. Just how an American neighbor might spill it over a backyard fence, with all the dry humor, disbelief, and lived-in honesty that comes from surviving the kind of week that would give most people ulcers. So picture this. I'm at my home office window, coffee in hand, probably thinking about fonts or deadlines or some other nonsense, when I see a golf cart rolling up our driveway like it's the Normandy invasion. Except instead of soldiers, it's just this heavy-set guy in a tactical vest over a tucked-in polo, looking like a mall cop who took a wrong turn at the Halloween store. The thing is, he's not just posturing. He's actually pointing a real gun straight at my wife. Yeah, you heard that right. Tuesday morning in Crestwood, Florida, and my wife's got a loaded firearm inches from her face because apparently we didn't display some residential badge. Now, if you're thinking she should be running, screaming, or at the very least, panicking, think again. My wife Claire, in her running shoes and ponytail, is standing there as calm as a yoga instructor at sunrise, staring this maniac down like he's the one who should be scared. And here's the thing that still gets me. She moves. Not away, not to hide, but towards the guy. 1 second, Danny, fake cop, Stone has a gun, and the next, Claire's got it, disassembling the thing with one hand like it's just another set of weights at the gym. Meanwhile, Danny's face is pressed into our driveway, and he's suddenly very interested in apologizing to the cracks in the concrete. I'm frozen. Neighbors are frozen. Mrs. Patterson from next door is standing there like she's about to faint. Bob across the street, usually the first to call code enforcement on a crooked mailbox, just gives a slow, approving nod like he's waited his whole life for this exact moment. For about 2 seconds, the world stands still. Then here comes Jennifer Smith, HOA president, walking PR statement, and owner of the world's sharpest bob haircut. She screeches up in her SUV, hazards flashing like the suburban SWAT team, clutching a folder full of official documents. In about 60 seconds, she spun the whole thing. Danny was over-enthusiastic. There's new security protocols. It's all part of a training drill. Please everyone go back to loving their property lines. Meanwhile, Claire calmly hands back the gun in pieces and says, I think you dropped something. Danny looks like he might cry. Jennifer starts promising reviews and reforms and, let's be honest, hopes everyone just forgets the whole thing by dinner. But let me tell you, nobody forgets when your wife strips a weapon from a fake cop before breakfast. The neighborhood's buzzing. And me? I can't concentrate on a damn thing. I start digging, which is what I do when I get nervous. And the more I dig, the weirder it gets. This Crestwood Security Solutions company Jennifer keeps mentioning doesn't exist. No license, no insurance, just a line item in our HOA budget, $3,000 a month for what, exactly? Danny and his golf cart parade? Turns out, for a year and a half, the board's been paying out tens of thousands for security that amounts to a guy who can't even keep his gun. That's when I realize something's off. Danny, who's supposedly unemployed, is suddenly living large. New truck, new apartment, shopping sprees on what should be beer money. Even the gun was bought through this fake company. So what is Jennifer running here? A neighborhood security theater or something darker? Things start unraveling fast. Jennifer, in a move straight out of a Bond villain's playbook, begins hitting residents with fines for everything from harassing security personnel to failing to report suspicious activity, which, as far as I can tell, means not cowering in fear whenever Danny shows up. I get a bill for $1,000 with a threat to escalate if I don't pay in 72 hours. Mrs. Patterson, bless her, gets dinged $300 for encouraging disruptive behavior. Translation, watching from her porch. Even Bob gets fined for nodding at Claire. The neighborhood turns into a powder keg, half of us angry, half terrified. That night, the emergency HOA meeting is like something out of a reality show. Half the crowd wants more security, the other half wants Jennifer's head on a platter. Jennifer, in her perfect blazer, starts waving charts and fake stats, trying to scare everyone with talk of crime waves and external threats. I stand up and do what any graphic designer with too much caffeine and not enough sense would do. Lay out the money trail, the shell companies, the whole house of cards. Jennifer tries to shut me down, calls me a troublemaker, accuses Claire of having something to hide, but by then people are starting to question everything. Bob and Jane, The paralegal daughter-in-law start asking real questions. By the time the meeting ends, the place is divided, but the spell's broken. Except, that's when the real nightmare starts. Jennifer cranks up the psychological warfare, mail tampering, wellness checks, neighbors suddenly turning cold, rumors flying. My phone records, my emails, even my bank statements start getting flagged. Someone's poking around where they don't belong. I catch sight of surveillance cameras in the bushes. Claire, all the while, is taking it in stride, documenting everything, teaching me how to handle evidence, counter-surveillance, which makes me wonder, how does she know all this stuff? One night, after Jennifer tries to set me up with a restraining order, claiming I'm harassing HOA officials, Claire sits me down and finally opens up. Turns out, her corporate fitness job is real, but it's also the perfect cover. Before Crestwood, she did 8 years in Army Special Operations, and for the past year, she's been working with federal investigators tracking extremist networks targeting military families. Jennifer isn't just a petty dictator. She's a cog in a domestic espionage operation, using HOA power to harass, surveil, and, yeah, drive out families for profit and intelligence. Everything comes to a head when 3 men in tactical gear break into our house at 2 in the morning. Claire, no hesitation, moves like she's back in the field, takes them down with the kind of skill you only see in movies, secures them until law enforcement arrives. Turns out, these aren't local thugs. They're part of the network Jennifer's been running, paid to eliminate so-called threats. By sunrise, the FBI's on the scene. The sheriff is treating our place like a counter-terror operation, and Jennifer's hauled out in cuffs, her house stuffed with surveillance gear, fake IDs, and files on half the military families in the region. The truth comes out in a tidal wave. Jennifer's been running a ring of fake security companies, targeting service members, laundering money, and selling information. Claire's a hero, the neighbors are shocked into silence, and Crestwood, for the first time in years, can finally breathe. A year later, the place looks different. The new HOA president posts every transaction online. The memorial garden stands where Jennifer's house used to be, a tribute to the people who actually protect our communities. Danny, after 2 years of community service and some serious soul-searching, is now working with veterans instead of cosplaying as a security guard. Even Bob admits he misjudged Claire. Turns out, sometimes the person you least suspect is the one holding the line. And me? I still design logos and chase deadlines, but I also teach neighborhood workshops on spotting fraud and resisting manipulation. Claire, officially retired, teaches self-defense and spends her free time with military families who, thankfully, don't have to live in fear anymore. So if you're watching this thinking, that could never happen in my neighborhood, think again. The line between normal and chaos is thinner than you think. My advice: know your neighbors. Ask questions. And if your HOA president starts hiring security out of nowhere, check their paperwork twice. Let me know below, what would you have done in my place? Ever tangled with an HOA that went off the rails, or found out someone close to you was living a double life? Drop your wildest neighborhood story in the comments. And if you made it this far, give this story a share. Somebody out there needs to know they're not the only one living next to a sleeping tiger.